Greetings. Welcome to Extra Hours, part of the Office Hours Global network. If you want to find out more about what we do, how it all works, Office Hours Global/join. You can get signed up and get connected to what we do. We're back to our regular scheduled programming where we aren't talking necessarily about immersive today or tonight. But if you did miss last week, it was an awesome chat talking about people that are playing around with the immersive camera from Blackmagic and all things kind of Vision Pro immersive content. So it's worth checking that out last week. But tonight we have the opportunity. We've done this a couple of times where there's just four. And why is there only four panelists? Well, that's because Alex Lindsay is one of them. And Chris Fenwick is another. And with those two, mostly Guy and I get to just eat popcorn and as those two chat away.
That sounds ridiculous. Yes.
Alex, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Yeah, we had a lot of good response from folks listening last week to the immersive. So I think we're going to do it more often. So we're figuring out the time. So
Great.
Brenton and I think are going to do it every other week, and then we're gonna. We'll figure out who we bring and who we talk to and so on and so forth. So, but we're going to have at least the two of us. So he's upgrading some of his network, his studio and getting ready to kind of be part of that. But I think we're going to, because now I have I did a bunch of shooting. Now I've got a bunch of post stuff to do. So we're going to talk more about it every other week. So stay tuned for that. We'll give the first one in the next week or two. We'll get started.
That's awesome. We were talking about how do we get all this data around and share it with people, that might want to play around with some of the raw footage and things, So
starting to come together. So the raw data, I'm still working on. That might be a little harder. I am talking to a provider that I think we're going to be able to put out the renders. So that when I render something like, here's something to put on your headset, I think I have a place for that. So, all these companies are coming up to speed and everything else. And so we'll see what we should know by the time that show goes, we'll know about it. Because I really want to be able to have you be able to watch YouTube and then say, hey, if you have an Apple Vision Pro, here is the file that's related to the thing I just talked about, that kind of thing. So
good.
Yeah.
As a resident sort of curmudgeon on the panel, Chris Fenwick, he knew I was talking about him. Where are you at now with Vision Pro or kind of VR? Is it still just a waste of time?
I think it's stupid. I mean, I get that Alex loves it. Alex is Mr. Bleeding Edge. I get it. And there's probably a place for it. Sure. Yep. Gotta, sit by the window, watch 80-inch movies on the economy seats when you're on a plane, but
so great.
It is good.
I can't live that way. I can't. I mean, first of all,
you got to have an aisle.
No, I gave up flying 3 years ago. I won't set foot on a plane again. It's bad.
Wow.
They're bad. I had to give up a bunch of jobs. I used to have an annual job in Hawaii every year, and it's like, well, no bridge yet, so I'm out. But I think, it doesn't. There's not a part of me that even remotely wants to put on a VR headset. I've never even put one on.
Have you not tried it?
No, I haven't tried it.
Okay, all right. I mean, I just feel like
my
you
wife
have zero credibility in this now.
Oh, clearly, but there's also you got to break. You got to you got to pique my interest, and it just doesn't pique my interest. Now, my grandson, Liam, my wife bought him. What did you buy him, honey?
I bought them the best Apple ones that they came out with.
No, it wasn't an Apple one. It was something else.
Yeah, it was. It was the whatever.
It's okay, hon. And he loves it.
Money.
He loves it, but
right.
I'm not going to tell you there isn't some broken furniture and some bruises and stuff like that. I find it to be kind of dangerous. We also have a pretty small house. But I've never even put it on. Don't care.
All right. Excellent. So Alex, note to self, Fenwick doesn't come anywhere near the new.
I need
the new
to
show.
start sending pictures of my experience and just to Chris every day. Like, look at what I'm doing in the headset.
Look at this.
Like this is so awesome. Don't you wish you were here?
You're gonna get beat up.
I went
That's
to
my fear with my grandson. It's like, Liam, don't get beat up in school.
every now and again. I just need to go to the beach, and I just work from the beach for the day. So I spend 5-6 hours just at the beach, and
Please tell me you're joking.
the best experience is being able to put the Vision Pro on. I sit in the back seat of the car, in the middle, the back seat of the car, put the Vision Pro on, and now I've got three essentially 4K screens, one ultra wide screen in front of me from a MacBook Air, and it's as good as if I'm sitting at home. Now I'm fully connected.
But you know
and I
what's
can
not
see
as
the
good?
beach.
You know what's not as good? The drive to the beach. Like, so you could do all that home stuff when you're at home.
He says.
But today,
He says living in the Bay Area, you can look out the window.
Today, you're driving to the beach with your family, and maybe you should be doing that.
Oh.
Just saying.
Well, they were all at school.
Well, who's going to the beach?
He lives near the beach. See, we have to decide we're going to the beach. There's I'm going to drive for 45 minutes.
Throw
you can see
an
the
apple
beach
into the bay from my
but that's not really the beach. I mean, you're in Emeryville.
No, but it's the same ocean that isn't rising here as it is there.
Yeah, I mean, it's Emeryville. I mean, it's.
I'm just, but who's driving when you're sitting in the middle seat in the back? Are you in like a Waymo?
What do you do?
No, he's just sitting there. He's parked.
I'm just sitting. I'm parked. I'm just sitting at the beach. I can look out the window. I can see the beach. I have the windows open.
I'm so worried about you. I'm
all right.
Like,
well,
intervention level worried.
See, I like to go right on the beach, put the headset on, and have your computer out there.
Yeah.
And just I'm just getting the sun. Too. I don't do that.
Anyway, it's amazing. And there are times that I particularly like the productivity aspect of it. So that's where it's at. Now, Guy, quick hello, Tamara, and Vic and Craig, Alexander, Robert, Brian from the UK. Nice to have you here. John Wallace is up late. So drop some questions in. I think, Guy, we do have a question.
I can show a little bit. We did some shooting over the weekend.
Oh, nice.
If anyone wants to see anything while we're
as
things are queuing up.
This is the world's first multi-cam spatial.
Possibly. Well, first I'll show the thing I did in Twitter. Just want to talk about it because it's so cool.
That was cool too.
My daughter was in a parade, for her school, and what is this? Oh. My daughter was in a parade, and I just got the 17, so the 17 Pros. I got a couple of them for production, and but what you're going to see here is I'm going to be an 8x, then 4x, then 2x, and I'm switching between them and panning and walking while I'm switching between them. So here you can see, and here she's.
And you just handheld.
So you can see this is handheld. That's 4x now, and some guy stood.
Get out of my shot.
And you should listen to the music too. She's doing a pretty good solo. Anyway, but
That's impressive.
It's dark too. Anyway, it really impressive. It was just, I was just kind of like, holy smokes, and it's a little softer, I think, so it's not exactly. And then I shot their band at night in San Anselmo the next day. They were playing live. This is a different whole set of different people except for her. So you'll see her. She's now playing bass. But you can see her over there. And let's see here. But this is me just doing handheld. And this is dark. Like, it was dark, not a great, and anyway, the fact that I can actually capture stuff was kind of insane. Like so anyway, just thought I'd share that. The 17, I skipped the 16 because I didn't think there was enough update. There wasn't enough to it. Like I was like, I got a 15 Pro Max or whatever. I can hang on to that for another year. And the 17 is pretty slick.
And you didn't go for the Max, right? Because of the way you need to mount it.
Yeah, I can't talk about it quite yet, but I'm working on something that required smaller phones. so I needed the phone to be smaller itself. But I'll be able to explain that hopefully next week. I'm working on building something around the cameras, and their size was an impediment, so I needed to make them, I needed the smaller ones. And so I got 2 of the Pros.
Are you mounting 2 of them inside your Apple headset?
Inside the headset. That's exactly what I'm doing. In fact, no, I am actually taping them to the outside to add an extra layer of stuff. No, this is the other thing we were doing over the weekend. This is in the Swell Studios.
Cool.
And what you're seeing here is this was a really cool percussion band actually, and we had 2 of the 17s, and then Rocket brought his 16, and so we had enough to do a 3-camera spatial shoot. So I haven't edited it together yet, but so basically a little wider shot there. And Dale Nevada, as well as Rocket and my son, you can see my son there, we were all shooting, or the 4 of us came in to shoot here at the studio. And so you can we had these little rigs that we were and it was just, this is the standard app, nothing crazy. And just added a little bit of light to what they had. Go ahead.
Were those tripods strong enough for the weight of the phones?
Yeah, exactly. They were bending a little bit. We knew that we weren't going to be able to make exactly that. It was a little
flimsy.
Yeah. So what was funny was what was different about this than what we've done in the past is instead of telling the band what to do, I said, just get into a place that you're comfortable, and then we'll find where to put the cameras. So don't normally we would have our center camera here, and then we'd put the 2 cameras here and have them kind of facing us. But it's a recording studio. So I was like, I want you to kind of feel like you're in a recording studio. This other camera, by the way, was not ours. It's a really cool service. It's called Alert the World. And they lease these little PTZs and put them all in bars all over the world. And people can log into little live streams with folks, so they came in to stream as well. They knew the folks in the band. But they've got streams from all over the world happening all the time. And so it was kind of a cool thing to see. Anyway, but what we did is when the bassist wanted to look at the other folks while they were playing is when we really kind of moved all the cameras over here. And the thing that was interesting was that when we did this, we realized we should really be shooting into the corner. It was something that because of it's not set up that way, I wasn't thinking about it that way. But the next time we shoot here, I'm going to move the drummer into the corner here and then put everyone out here. And I think I can get better. I think a lot of the geometry, it'll feel bigger. Because the other thing we kind of wrestle with is we've got these really old keyboards that are really nice, but they're old and they're heavy and people don't like to move them. so we really have this part of the studio to work with. You're going to say something, Chris?
Yeah, I was curious. Are you doing a lot of movement, zooming or anything with the cameras?
No, because it's spatial, so you don't really change.
Okay.
We could do, and I did a couple tests where I just picked up one of the other cameras and did a spatial where I walk around and do close-ups and move around to see different angles and so on and so forth. So I did that more handheld. We have found that
you should put one behind the drummer.
We've thought about that. Yeah, I mean, I just didn't have a place to. In all the other shoots that we've done, we put one over the drummer, and just in the way we were experimenting, we just didn't end up with one above the drummer. It's hard because one of the things about spatial that you try to avoid is what we call frame violations. So if you have a screen like this and it's 3D, what you don't want is an object that is here but goes out to like this, right? So like the symbols, right? If you have a symbol and it's there, it going along that edge. If you have major items along the edge, it's what we call a frame violation, because what it does is it kind of ruins the 3D experience. Like it pegs it, because everything else has Z axis, so it's a plus if it looks like it's sticking out of the screen, and it's a minus if it looks like it's going into the screen. but it's always at 0 at the edge, right?
So you'd have to have a pretty wide room to get the whole drum kit without those frame violations.
And so that's why I should have done it just as, and I did do some of it. I did kind of move around him and shoot some angles of that drum set just so we could see it. I was like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it looks fine anyway, or it looks good or whatever. But you can see a little bit of that, like when you put the headset stuff on with Metallica, you can see it a little bit in the where the drums kind of stick out in a weird way in your eye because of what we call the frame violations. And so we try to avoid it. It's not something that you if you're purist about it, it won't work. You have to have some of that.
Are you saying though, Alex? Are you saying that if it was, to me, that the violation is that it's too close and you're not seeing the full object? But are you saying that it's because even if it's
just getting clipped, it's getting clipped right at that. It's just like it wants to be like, the problem is that, like, let's say it's closer to you than the screen, but the screen at the edge is like what it is. It's like this weird, like they don't belong together. And again, when you're shooting stuff,
because it's a window.
Yeah, because it's a window. Now what Apple does to hide that is they blur the edges if you're in the Apple Vision Pro. So that's the kind of that's what they do to make it work. One of the things that I'm working on right now for some of this stuff, so people can visualize it, is I'm going very retro. I am experimenting. The early experiments have been pretty successful. Of you can shoot with your phone and then convert that footage to anaglyph. And anaglyph is the red-blue glasses. Remember the old little paper ones you'd get at I don't know if you're old enough. When I was very young, they were doing a little bit of anaglyph at the theater, and I could go into a theater and you can put these little paper glasses on that were red and blue, and you'd see 3D, and it actually works pretty well. Like if you don't use a lot of red and blue in your design, it works pretty well. And it's a fun effect. And I realized the funny thing about it is that I've been talking to Marcelo, I think that we can stream an anaglyph live so that you could open up YouTube and put on your glasses and see live 3D. So I'm trying to figure that out right now. Anyway, so that gives you a little. That was what I did over the weekend. That was my spare time, not my work time.
You've done some for years, obviously, some 3D stuff and multicam 3D.
Yeah.
Is it
360 multicam 3D? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it cut differently, do you think?
You cut a lot slower. So you cut slower, and it depends on whether you're doing immersive or whether you're doing, so you can kind of cut at roughly the same speed at 16:9. This is what we're going to experiment with this show, with this multicam, is that you really can cut about the same speed in 3D. You got to go a little bit slower, but you generally are going to cut regularly on a 16:9 3D. The problem you get into that you don't get into with these phones, well, you kind of get into it. If all the phones are set to 2x or 1x, it means that your convergence will feel pretty much the same. So the problem you get into when you're cutting between cameras is that when we look at something in front of us, our eyes are not looking straight ahead like this. They are looking at like this at the object. Like if someone puts their finger in front of you and goes close and your eyes cross, it's because your eyes are converging on something, and that it can be converging far away or converging close to you, but your eyes are actually crossing in to see whatever that is. And that is part of the 3D effect, but it's also how we see that. Now, the problem is that if I cut from something that's close to you to far away, I'm making your eyes do something that they would never do in the real world, which is that, like they're in like this, and then they're out like this. And you can get tired watching that, like as a viewer, because your eyes are being forced to do stuff, and then, going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And so you have to be very careful in 3D when you're shooting. You have to pay attention to convergence when you're doing that.
Is that a lot different than cutting from a wide shot to a close-up?
It is, because when you're cutting from a wide shot to a close-up in 2D, your eyes, as far as they're concerned, they're converging on the 2D screen. They're not in a 3D environment, so they're not trying to work. Like they're just seeing an image. So when you do 3D, and especially there's a couple things that happen when you do 3D, and as you increase your frame rate, you end up with this situation where your eyes start to really think that what they're looking at is real. and they start to want to converge on everything the way that they would converge on it. And that's why, your brain starts to, it starts to process it differently. It's why in many ways, 24 frames a second makes sense for film, because I threw you in a helicopter, and then I cut to a jib, and then I cut to the ground, and I did another, like you're doing a bunch of things your eyes never, you never see in the real life, is cutting between all these things. But it doesn't bother you because it's kind of low frame rate. What we find is that as you start to do all those things, as you increase the frame rate, and as you add stereoscopic, and as you add immersive, as you do those things, as you start to stack that up, your brain starts to go, oh, I'm in a place. And then it starts to react. You start to feel your stomach pull in. You start to feel sick. You start to want to take your goggles off. Like if something goes wrong, like we had this joke when we were doing this 360 stuff with putting Ozos on a Steadicam, on my brother's Steadicam. And as a joke, and to know when you were done with the demo, because we were shooting this demo at a golf course, my brother would go down like this with a Steadicam, and right at the very end, he just turned the set, because he does this thing when he's done to rest. He turns the Steadicam sideways. So he just went down and just turns the Steadicam sideways, and we just left it in, like we didn't cut it out. And you could always see every person when they finish the demo, they go like this. they pull their head would kind of turn, and then they pull them off real quick because it was like this. Oh my gosh! And so that was how we finished every demo. We just watched them, and we know when they were done because they pull the headset right off. And so, but it also showed them what the headset can do. And what I've been doing with some of the immersive shots is I've done a bunch of shots that I'm working on right now to post where I shot them badly. I let my brother go run free with a Trinity rig and just roam around and do these hard turns and do all this other stuff so that you could see, like, how does that feel? And I took an immersive camera and I cocked it 45 degrees and captured it so you can see what happens when the camera's not level. Like what happens to your eyes, because it's not comfortable. So anyway, those are the kind of things but when you're shooting 3D, it does take, you cut differently, you cut slower mostly. And when you do immersive and stereoscopic, again, you keep on slowing down and letting people explore this frame and doing less like fast cutting. So
I saw a couple of months ago, went on a family trip, with my family, took them with me, spent time with them, away from my Vision
with the
Pro.
headset on the whole time, and they got to look at the big eyes. Hi, honey.
Had to tell them to be quiet all the time because I couldn't hear the Vision Pro properly. But we went to a pioneer village, which is just an old setup, and they had there a Kaiser Panorama stereoscopic theater. Have you ever seen one of these, Alex? So let me show you a picture of it more. So this is what it was. So it's 1895, and this is what they look like. So it was sort of before the turn of the century, and you have these stereo photographs, and you get up and you have sort of it's like a slideshow. They actually designed it where on the inside it would move, and so you'd sit down. So it was 25 people could sit there, and it had, like these little goggles that you would look in through, and they were stereo photos. And so I got to see a whole bunch of these, like photos of towns and stuff that were all in kind of that era.
What's really interesting is we've been playing with 3D for so long. It is. I mean, it definitely, we feel like it's new, but it's like this is.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Hey, Grant, that was before Roswell, right? The stereoscopic theater thing, Roswell, New Mexico.
So, yeah.
Oh, okay, that explains a lot.
Yes.
Okay.
So like this is circa, and it works. Like it's, so it's Dom Camaracha, sent this to me to play with. These are some of his photos so he printed them. He shot them and printed them. And so you put this thing on and you can, see in stereo. I mean, it does the thing, right? And it's this little piece of wood.
Yeah.
and people had figured this out 100 years ago or more than 100 years ago. So people have loved the idea of it. I've been kind of surprised that Apple or somebody else hasn't, that we don't have a better viewer for, I mean, we have it now with the Vision Pro, but you feel like you kind of want the viewer on your phone of being able to pick it up, and set it up so that you can look at photos, in 3D, because we're shooting them in 3D. So it just shows them up as side by side. Because right now you only see them in the Vision Pro. You don't get to see them in. It would be great if it just displayed the image side by side on the phone, and then you have. I mean, there's lots of little viewers that were made when Google Cardboard was working.
Cardboard, yeah.
And so you just want something that does that has that effect. But anyway,
why did that die? Do you think Cardboard? It seemed like a great concept.
I think. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
The bell curve of people, they really don't care. I get that you love it. I get that the lunatic fringe of that bell curve is like new, gotta have it. Most people don't care.
I think that the issue a lot of times, and I've talked about this, the infamous equation, which is that, action occurs when possibility is greater than circumstance. The circumstance was that it's really hard to shoot. so until Apple, had a phone that shot stereo, it's really hard right now. There's just not that many places to view it. But the problem that Google had is that, they had all the stereo stuff, but it was really hard the creation process. And that's what, as these cameras more of these cameras start to come out, and there's not that many in the world right now, but as these immersive cameras come out, the big thing that you get into it, and even they're still still hard because there's so much data. But it is so much easier than it was 6 months ago. It's really changed dramatically of what you can capture. And so I think that we're going to see this kind of this slow train.
Immersive, yes.
But the spatial,
3D,
I mean, I think
been
that
around forever.
I would, I think, and I haven't tried it with my iPhone. I just don't know what viewers out there to do left and right on an iPhone. I should do some more research on it. But it'd be kind of fun to have, give these things away. But the hard part is that the problem with all of these things was that creating it was hard. Even the ones we bought on the little rotary thing that when we were growing up, those were cool, except it was whatever they shot photos of. What you can do now is shoot with any iPhone Pro. You can take stereoscopic pictures. And I gotta say, I accidentally took a bunch of stereoscopic pictures of the immersive camera. I was taking reference photos because we're building a 3D model of it. And I was taking these reference photos, and then I popped them open and they said Spatial, and I looked at them and they look amazing. Like it was, the photos so now I've been taking more and more immersive photos on the, on it. I think that, but I do think that it is it may not be, for everyone, but I do think that 3D is pretty cool. But the problem is we've been dealing with low quality for so long, and, low quality, hard to make, like 320 by 240. I remember looking at 320 by 240 video. And when I saw it in the early 90s, I could see the future. Like I was like, I saw a 320 by 240 and looked at it and said, movie theaters are going to change forever. And I remember saying that like in 1990, it was like as soon as I saw it, I was like, this is going to get a lot bigger, and then it's going to be a lot better. And then and then film's going to be dead. And that was like 1990 for me, or 1991. I just immediately could see what was going to happen with that. But a lot of people were like, well, why would we bother working on that? And I got excited. I worked on interfaces for Broderbund. I worked on all this other stuff and I made all the interfaces look super high resolution for these little CD-ROMs, because I was like, eventually this is going to be huge, and it eventually was.
The other aspect to it of why it hasn't caught on is the immediate ability to share it. I watch my family all the time. We will, eventually at some point the weekend slows down. There's, 5-6 people sitting on the couch, and it's like phone, scroll, ha, ha, ha. Phone, scroll, ha, ha, ha. You have like 2 seconds. And if I have to go like, oh, hey,
well, and that was,
let me adjust the focus here. Okay.
Well, but with the phone, with the iPhone now, taking a spatial camera, you just pick it up and take a picture. And the idea behind this is the red phone,
yeah.
the hydrogen. And so this was also stereo. You can see the two lenses here. So this was stereo, I don't know, 8 years ago or something like that. So we keep on coming back to it. And I took a bunch of photos with this. I got excited. I was on the wait list or whatever, and I got this and took a bunch of photos with it. And it has a display that shows in 3D, so you can look at it and it looks 3D on the display. And so I think that where Apple's going to go, it's 18 or 19 is my guess, is going to have a 3D display. So right now you have the photography to do it, and they're building up all that technology for the phones to be able to shoot it. But I think you're going to end up with and I think that the new interface is going to make a lot more sense when it's in 3D. So
is it going to
like there's a lot of things that they're weird because they're all 2D slapped on top of each other. When they're in 3D, it'll make a lot more sense. So, what were you going to say, Chris?
Will it project like R2D2?
No, it will not. No, not yet.
Let me know.
When you look at the screen, but I think you're going to end up looking at a screen within 2, maybe 3 years. You're going to look at the screen and it's going to be in 3D. Like it's going to be a 3D render, because that tech is not even new for Apple. I mean, it's new. It's floating around. I mean, it's been around for the last decade or whatever, but it's just not fully cooked. And that's, Apple's business model is fully cooking things. It's like I took your dough, because half-baked bread is still dough. And that's what most products are, is some version of somewhere between dough and bread. They're not really bread. And Apple just comes in and, how about I just throw that back in the oven just for another 15 minutes? It'll be great.
So we're going to get to some questions now, but I just need to say, Fenwick, the Vision Pro is not like it's not like binoculars. All right, they don't have a focus wheel on them.
I'm pretty sure they're exactly like binoculars.
Yes,
but no, I've never put a pair on.
No, and you should remedy that. So, Guy, you might just need to clear your throat because haven't spoken for half an hour. Yeah,
take it away, Alex.
Final...
No, I was just joking in the chat. I was just going to say, hey.
Which ones?
Yeah.
I didn't even pull it up. It just sits on my stack of phones. It's on the you can't see it if it goes all the way back. You can't see anything else either.
Does it move?
No,
moves
it literally
around the wall as it
I have a stack of.
It gets older.
I have a. I was almost. I think I had
charging. Did that use the 30-pin Apple charging iPod cable?
No, this was a. This uses USB-C. It was one of the first ones. Oh, see, but I even have this just like
Firewire 400.
I have one of those right here.
Number one. So, and this is what, let's see. This
we've just turned this into a show and tell.
Yeah.
Show and tell.
So number one doesn't, I don't know if it turns on.
Mine's in really good shape. Look at that.
No, you have number 2, I think, or 3. This
is an iPhone original.
No, this is because it was all black on the back.
Nope. This was the original.
Is that 3G?
You have the 3G, Alex.
Oh, maybe I have.
So you can sit down.
I'm going to sit
this
down.
is what you want to look at.
Backing away now.
Step away.
I'm going to back into my shadow of shame.
Okay, Homer.
So you were an early adopter, Fenwick, on the phone, but the Vision Pro is just beyond you.
I was telling this story about the day the phone came out. First of all, I almost literally bumped into Mr. Jobs at the Apple store on University Avenue when I was buying it. But I spent the rest of the day sitting on the couch at home, and the best descriptor would be like the monkeys and the obelisk in 2001. Like it was like I was sitting there hitting it with a femur bone. I was just astonished by it. It was crazy.
Well,
I'm sorry. Did that
Pro
reference slip everybody? Did everybody remember that scene?
No, your camera moving.
Yeah, I'm fixing it.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I did a hand gesture.
That's what threw me.
It was confused.
There was a lot of violations going on there. All right. So, Guy, Next question.
Tony, you can absolutely shoot stereo on a 16 Pro. I was shooting stereo on a 15 Pro. 15 Pro was the first one that did it, and that's why I bought it. And then the 16 didn't change anything, and the 17 hasn't changed anything either. So the 15, 16, and 17 all shoot 1080p 30 in spatial. And so that's what they do. I think the quality of the image might be a little bit better on the newer ones. But otherwise it definitely shoots. And so you should try it, and you should send me something, send me some pictures or send me some video that you shoot on, and I can tell you how it looks on an Apple Vision Pro.
Cool. Next question. Alex?
I've seen it done. I have not seen it done in Zoom as far as the panning goes. I didn't know it could do it very well. The problem that I've had is, so Blue Jeans used to do this, and it was like a thing they did, I think, with Dolby, where they panned everybody into, surround or whatever. And the problem that we really had is that it didn't match the screen. So Guy would be on one side, but I'd hear him on the other, and Grant would be on one side, I'd hear him on the other. Like they didn't line up. They were sending everybody the same stereo regardless of where people were on their screen. And it really needed to, if it was going to do it, it needed to put Grant in the center and Chris on one side and Guy on another side. And that's how I had to view it. And if I didn't view it that way, then I probably wouldn't work. So.
Yeah, so there is a feature in Zoom called Spatial Audio in the audio tab, and so it's like voices will sound like they're coming from each person's position on the screen. Is the descriptor it has for gallery or immersive view only. So and doesn't support wireless headphones, which is all very interesting. What the limitations are of that. I haven't found that I have needed that in a Zoom call, particularly for a small meeting. But what we have done a lot in production is where we have comms, and even when we've done like the NAB coverage and things like that, where we have had someone sort of show calling or people, a producer talking in your ear, having that person panned even slightly is very, very helpful. I have found that because it was instantly knowing that this person is not on the panel, but they are, they're separate from it, and I know that instantly because of where the sound is coming from. I've done a little bit of that even in this studio space when we do some virtual events. I've got a 5.1 set up, and when we do virtual events, it's actually really handy to use the center monitor as kind of the I use it as the monitor output of the X32, and so I can pre-fade listen to certain things, and that's a way that we can listen to the stage when it's not live. And just by having it very directional in the space that I'm in is really helpful, because at that point I have program audio going on, which is generally the sound in the room. I have comms on my headset, or the bone conduction, and then I'm also listening to the stage that's coming, and that's coming from a direction. So it all just confirms your point about directionality is actually really handy for knowing where things are coming from. But in a standard Zoom meeting with a panel, I haven't needed that necessarily, because there isn't a lot of talking over each other either.
I've often wanted to add a surround speaker to have the peanut gallery. So while someone's talking, I can just go, Chris is full of it. Like, while he's talking though, but you'd only hear it in like the surround speaker. I'd be just like, don't listen to him. He's just making that up.
So I do a similar thing, Grant. Thanks, Alex. I put my comms in one ear, the Unity comms when we do the show, and it totally helps. And a lot of performers, I think Elton John is famous for having a ring of fire. First of all, he's nearly deaf. but he's got like a ring of fire of stage wedges around him at his piano, and he puts certain instruments per speaker so that he can keep it straight in his head. So it makes a lot of sense to be able to do that if you can.
There was a show that I did a live stream, and I was hosting the live stream from in the foyer. Actually, the Pasadena Convention Center was where it was at, and I was sitting in the foyer, and we were live streaming, and we would pull all the guest speakers would come. This is a really cool way of doing a live stream, actually, too. That we've talked about this before as a hybrid event. It's the only real way you could make that work nicely, where the guest speaker just finished speaking and they come straight and sit on the panel, and now people online get to ask them questions. Worked incredibly well. But the thing that we had, because of course we had lots of time where we weren't on air, but we were just kind of sitting waiting. And so I had this idea to continue to use our headsets as comms. And the way I did it was I wound off all the bottom end. And so when we were talking to each other, it was a really thin sound, and we knew that that was comms. And then when we were live on air, it was full range sound. And so, and it worked really well. And so as soon as we muted, we muted those channels, like the live channels, it went really thin. We could talk to each other, or it was totally fine. And then full range when we knew that we were live to air. So
I know Brian Maddox had a whole setup with comms where he would pan everybody around, and he said it was just, he was able to now know that this is the client talking, this is production, this is the what's going, like, so where he could hear things was telling him, who's talking to him. And he said it's not useful if you do it over one day, but if you do the same thing all the time and you do it over many days or years of everybody's in the same place, of who is in the same place, your brain just kind of knows who's talking, like, and it just kind of adapts to it to make it work.
Very cool. Next question.
Next one's in from Alexander Knight in Port Coquitlam, BC, and he asks, have you seen Architectural Digest behind the scenes on Netflix Black Rabbit set design? Stunning thought and attention to detail. Great show, too. And he's got a link here to a YouTube video.
It is a great show. Alex?
Yeah, I'm still in the middle of it, so no spoilers. But it's it's intense. Anyway. So, but here's the video. I don't know if I can, it's got a lot to it, so I don't know if I can jump through it and find something useful, but they really kind of break down the building that they use for it, and they're talking about the interior, and it definitely feels very there, it has a grit to it that I think is pretty cool, as far as, and I'll have to look at it a little bit. I think there's a couple of them here where they kind of show how they've inserted lights just above what you see. That's always the interesting thing, is that, when you see the set, when you're at the set, it is, you kind of get a sense of, like, right above where the camera's shooting, there's lights, like there's things, wherever the set designer is going to decide how high you're going to be able to shoot, and then you're going to put stuff in to make it look good. I thought that was interesting when I went to see, I was touring Dexter. That's actually where I ran into Courtney the first time, and we didn't know each other very well. He knew who I was, I guess, but I didn't know him. And but I was touring, and we were on the Dexter set, and it's funny because you're there, and then there's these palm trees that are outside the police office, but when you look out, the palm trees are like on the floor, like they're really short. They just set the top of them to create the second floor, and these are all things that so you see some of that design in here, not palm trees, but you see that where there's like a practical decision about how to make everybody look good after we fit it all in. I think a lot of folks, when they start shooting, think that you find places, and you do for exteriors, but the interiors are usually sets, and those sets are built up so that it looks totally real until the last foot.
I thought that it looked a lot like the Peaky Blinders pub, set as well. And so I was like, oh, I wonder if this is somehow related, but clearly not. It's obviously a real set.
I think it's really interesting. This is Jason Bateman is directing it, so it's really his vision, and he's also in the movie.
He directed 2 episodes.
Oh, 2 episodes. For some reason, I thought he directed more. Maybe I just saw his name pop up.
4 different directors. Yeah, he directed the first 2, I think.
Yeah,
and then I can't remember her name from the other show, Ozark. The other, his wife in the,
Oh,
I
Lenny.
can't remember her name, but yeah, she also directs two
Yeah.
of the episodes. So it's really gritty, very, very cool, great, incredible acting. And so yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that. It was one that you could truly binge. Like if you have the time, you're able to just fly through it.
My wife and I are binging, and I like we're not binging. Well, the way we binge is once a day, so we're watching one every evening. We just started a little while ago, and so that I like that pace. If I do two, it's too much for anything. Like
It is pretty.
I find that
intense,
my willingness to listen to, do something that is more than an hour is not as high as it used to be.
Fair. Okay. Was that a subtle comment to me about this show? We would make sure that we finish it.
No. I can be on a show longer than an hour. I just can't watch one. Like I'm just like, so maybe it is a subtle thing. Like, hey, someone else might be watching us.
I just assumed he was making fun of me somehow.
Well, I always am. I mean, every comment that I make, even when I'm talking about like technical XLR to TRS, it's all really, there's a sub comment there of,
I know,
Chris.
Yeah, just for Fenwick.
Yeah.
All right, next question.
Next one in from Alexander Knight, Port Coquitlam, BC, asks, Alex, how does grading for HDR change your thinking when it comes to set design, right down to the choice of colors in wardrobe selection?
I think you are more free in HDR. So there are a lot of things in standard dynamic range that you try to avoid, like pure white. So when I'm shooting something and someone says, what should I wear? I'm like, don't wear white, don't wear black. Like if you don't have to, you can. I mean, obviously if it's part of part of a narrative, but if someone asks me for a live show, I said, I don't want tight patterns. I don't want white. I don't want black. Those are the kind of things I want you to stay away from, just because the blacks tend to get crushed, the whites tend to be blown out, the patterns have a moire, and the patterns still are problematic in video, but I think that HDR, a lot of times when you're worried about like, oh, don't have a window in the background if you don't have to because it'll blow out. Now you're kind of like, I might have the room for that. I might be able to have the detail. It's because it's HDR. We think of it as brighter, but what it really is, it's more dynamic range in the sense that there's more details in the highlights and more details in the shadows. And so a lot of times you can do things. Now, the problem you get into is that when you convert it down to SDR from HDR, it oftentimes doesn't look as good because you did a bunch of things in HDR that you could. And then when you try to compress them down into SDR, it doesn't necessarily look as good as it did before. So that's the challenge. You were going to say something, Chris?
I always say avoid black, white, red, and aluminum foil. It's not fashionable.
Aluminum foil is always, especially if you wear it as a hat. It's aluminum foil is really more problematic. It makes you look silly. People are like that because that person's going to worry about a lot of things if they're wearing aluminum as a hat.
Next question.
Next one in from Douglas Carmichael asking, I have a Teams meeting coming up. Is it best to use the browser or download the Mac OS client?
Run. Run, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just go and visit them.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be better. It'll be a better experience. I think tin cups with string would be a better experience. Use the browser. The browser is better, and specifically use the browser in Chrome. So that I'm in Teams meetings every day, and I use the browser in Chrome. The Mac app is kind of like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. So you may open it up and it may just work, and you're like, oh, this is great. And the next day you'll open it up and a white screen will pop up in front of everything and not go away, but not let you actually enter the meeting. That's the most common problem with the Mac version. But there's all kinds of things.
It's like a box of chocolates. It's like a box of chocolates that's full of spiders. It's kind of like,
it's like the Monty Python box of chocolates. Like, crunchy frog. Is there a real frog in there? Well, if there wasn't a real frog, it wouldn't be crunchy now, would it? So, so it really is like the Monty Python box of chocolates.
Like that. Yeah.
So that's.
I opened it.
Yeah.
I opened it a couple of days ago, opened the app, and it was like errors everywhere, and was
Yeah,
like
it's just way easier.
needed
If you're on a
some
Mac,
resetting.
if you're on a PC, I'm sure it
Yeah,
works
just a
great.
browser.
But if it,
Yeah.
but if you're on a Mac, just use the browser. You don't have to think about it. It always works. It doesn't work very well, but it always gives you an image. But in general, I don't use Safari because Safari has different permissions as they relate to the camera and specifically the mic. So if you're using Meet or Teams, and I don't know if it works on, I don't know if it's a problem with Teams, but I know that with Meet, it will not let you choose. It's like either it'll let you choose your headphone, but not your mic, or not your mic and not your headphone, but it won't let you choose both of them individually. It wants to, and so I always have to, every time I click on a Teams meet or a Meet meeting, I immediately it opens Safari because that's my default. And then I suddenly go, oh, I have to cut and paste this and put it into Chrome or I won't be able to join. So there you go.
Nice. Next question.
Tim Sweat, Tewksbury, Massachusetts asks, I want to have a simple audio input for ATEM for an in-church TV stream. Instead of paying $300 plus for an Blackmagic SDI audio stuff, could I just use broadcast mix already via Dante to my ProPresenter computer into the SDI input?
Alex?
$300 for the BMD. Is this for the Bcast mix already via Dante? I'm trying to figure out where the Dante. What is he streaming? Is he streaming?
To
Is he
the
going
ATEM and then streaming from the ATEM probably? Could I just use Bcast mix?
if you're talking about Dante, the way that I do that is I have it right here because I'm rewiring some stuff. So if you're talking about getting Dante into the switcher, I don't know, you can I guess you could do this the opposite way for out of the switcher, but this is how I get audio into my switcher normally. So this is a Audinate XLR out, so it just Ethernet into here, and then it does XLR out, and then this is XLR to a TRS, not to. You can buy these where it's an XLR to a TRS, but then it looks at it because it sees it as a stereo signal into the channel. So I plug this in, and then I can send anything over Dante to my ATEM switcher. So I don't know if that's. I'm not quite certain what you're doing there, but that might be the solution.
No, it's confusing to me too because it is saying about the SDI input at the end. So I'm led to believe that the ATEM that he's using is an SDI ATEM, which, if that's the case, I guess there's TV studios and things that don't have analog audio inputs or something, but XLR. But the newer
you can get, if you have an
like
extreme, the extremes will have STI, but it'll still be headset,
sure,
headphone input.
Yeah, the extreme. Yeah, okay.
I feel like
SDI
if you're going to
version of
call
that.
it a Pro, it needs to have mini XLRs.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. I
So
just
I've
feel
got-
like it was, yeah. I don't think you can call. I don't think, and it's the same thing with the Pro Dock. I was like, the Pro Dock that hasn't out yet. It's like the Pro Dock with 1/8-inch jacks. I'm like, I don't think they really care about audio. Yeah,
now.
I mean, I have time code, and I have Genlock, and then I have an 1/8-inch jack. Like, it's just like, what are we doing here? So anyway.
Yeah. So I have used, and this might be what you're saying, the $300. It might be that using like an audio to SDI converter.
Yeah. That would be the $300 audio to SDI. But
yeah,
but you could do the Audinate wouldn't be that much less expensive because the Audinate that I'm talking about is $150 or $180 or something like that, and then the extra cable is nothing. It's like $12.
I'd want to see what the full workflow was, what soundboard you're using and things like that. But I guess the other thing that I do, I bought a bunch of the Zoom Z8s or something. I think they are. They're the cameras. They're a 4K camera, but they're a Zoom recorder, and they have two XLR inputs as well as an XY like a typical Zoom recorder microphone on them, and they record 4 tracks. And the reason I have this that's great for live streaming is for 2 reasons. One is it's just kind of a safety wide shot. Safety not so much to cut to, but as a good reference, right? Like it's like almost like a witness cam. It's a nice wide shot, but it also has the 4 ISO recorded tracks, and then it's embedding the audio as well, right? So I'm able to take that into an ATEM, and now I've got audio I can mix in. You've got a little mixer on it as well. I can mix in the Atmos microphone if I want as well, just to add a little bit of room. And then I've got the recording, but it's a recording on board and it's also embedding. So that's how I use that camera. But you might find that other cameras you're using on the shoot have XLR inputs, and you could just do it that way and have it embedded that way. So.
Yeah, that's the same thing I was going to mention is if you have a camera that already has pro grade XLR ins, take it in via that, because if you hit that ATEM, if it's an ATEM mini, the audio circuitry in there is not as good as the other ones. I use an AJ Key Pro, which is an older device that you can pick up on eBay for under $200, and that has XLR to SDI in it. So even though it's a huge rack mount unit, or you could get the smaller one, the original Key Pro, that'll convert XLR to, and LTC timecode even, to SDI. So it's kind of a cool device. I have 9 of them sitting around the corner here.
Does it use these memory cards?
No, it uses
It's the old one with the big
Key
ones.
Pro, yeah.
This is the Key Pro. This is a newer Key Pro memory card.
Yeah, that's the Key Media. What do they call those? Key. I can't. Pack,
I was spelunking and I found a bunch of these, and I was like, I wonder how much these are on eBay.
Yeah, look them up.
A couple $100 each.
The Key Pro guy, you got to press the record button, and then you have to press the play button too, right?
No, you just program it as a Stream Deck button, and you could say gang on all of them. And so I just press one Stream Deck button, and once it sees the time code, it'll hit all 9 of them at once.
There was a show I was on one time that had Key Pros, and they pressed the record, and they saw the time code, advancing. It looked
They
great.
didn't see the red light.
They didn't hit the play button.
They
was costly.
We had the last Key Pro show I did ever was we were on a truck, and we had 10 Key Pros for all the ISOs, and they hit them, and somehow they were able to turn it off without closing the file. Like, I don't know how they did that. And so all the drives were full, but you couldn't get to the data. And no matter what, we sent them out to try to get the data. And the only thing that saved us was that I recorded program. I'm just paranoid. So I have a Pix 240 with me all the time when I'm doing productions. And I was recording to the Pix 240, and I had a program of the show. I didn't have the ISOs anymore, but I had a program of the show that was a clean feed that I had asked for from it. And so I had that, but none of the ISOs and none of the program and none of, everything else was gone. And the client didn't notice because they were so busy doing other things, and they didn't care. And this was enough for they needed it really fast. So I just handed it to them, and it was for the socials, and they cut it up, and it was fine. But it was, that was my last Key Pro show. Like, I was like, I'll never use these again. Like, it's just, and I know people complain about the Hyperdecks, but I've probably owned at one point, Pixel Core at one point had probably 40 Hyperdecks, and we had one failure because we stacked 8 of them together. The older ones, the newer ones will stack together with no problem, but the older ones, the middle ones didn't record. Like 3 middle ones that didn't record, but that was the end of my, and the older Key Pros had a problem with, they overmodulate really easily. So if you gave them too much juice to the audio, into the audio channels, they'll get real scratchy. They don't overmodulate gracefully. I think is what I would say. But they were, I owned a lot of them. I had 8 Key Pros, and then I had the more expensive 4K Key Pros. That's what these memory cards are from. We definitely had a lot of, worked on hundreds of jobs with them, but we had this problem where people would hit eject without closing the thing. And I was like, the fact that I can't just pull it out and there's some chance that I can not get to my stuff. I was like, this is like too much for me. So too much debt. But anyway, we owned a lot of them. They were good. We did a lot with them.
Yeah, to avoid that, you could just transfer via the Ethernet jack, so you'd never have to sort of eject them. You can just set
Yeah.
them all up and
Yeah.
just
No, I mean,
grab
with
the
any
files off the
like
network.
with anything else, if you get good at knowing what the danger points are, they work great, and definitely at $200, they're incredible value. So if you're looking at for a $200 recorder, I mean the old Key Pros are really really powerful. The like with Black Magic, there's a bunch of things that it can do the wrong thing. Like we were talking about this morning, someone was having trouble with SDIA versus SDIB. Their encoder couldn't see it. And the first thing I asked, I was talking to them over the weekend about it. And the first thing they asked was, they're like, hey, I was talking to the encoding company and they said I should put something in between the switcher and their encoder. And I was like, and they said, because it's not showing up from the switcher. And I have an ATEM switcher, it's not showing up. And I immediately, my question was, what's the frame rate? And is it SDIA or SDIB? Like I knew exactly, and so I was like, just if it's 5994 and SDIB, you're going to have an SDIA system won't see it. But if it's 2997, it'd be fine. And so you once you get to know what the idiosyncrasies of the hardware that you have, most of the stuff isn't that big of a deal. I mean, many things will work if you know where the sharp edges are.
Good one. Next question.
Mike Burns in Spokane, Washington asks, the cruise nightmare doc that Fenwick was in recently was pretty interesting. Any cool behind the scenes stories that didn't make the cut?
Plenty.
Yeah, lots.
Yeah, it's my takeaway from the whole documentary thing is that documentaries on Netflix are nothing more than commercials to sell subscriptions.
It's like Atlantic salmon.
I don't know that reference.
Atlantic salmon, you think that you're eating something healthy when you eat Atlantic salmon. There's almost nothing healthy in Atlantic salmon. It's just because they're all farmed, and the way that they were gray until they added orange coloring to them. And so they look better than I every time I think about something that should be good, like documentaries that are actually worthless, to me it's like Atlantic salmon. Like why bother?
I do want to preface and say
that you love Atlantic salmon.
No, but I mean I'm a bit bitter, but
He's bitter about the Atlantic salmon.
The producers did a great job telling a very compelling story. And they did a lot of research and they found a lot of people. And for that, I give them all the credit. I've had many back channel chit chats with the EPs on it. And I commented, I said, well, how is it that this 20th century cruise ship has, or late 20th century, has an engine room that looks like the Titanic? And the guy goes, you're literally the only person who pointed that out, because they have these big giant gears and stuff. I go, those
right.
boats use generators and electric engines, right?
Okay.
But so I mean, they made a really good job. I won't go into it here because I know we're over time, but you really have to be careful what you take away from stuff that you watch on television. That they made me say things, and I could show this, but we don't have the time now. They made me say one sentence in particular that not only did I not say it, but one of the main reasons why I wanted to sit down and talk with them is to explain the absolute exact opposite of the sentence that they made me say. So there's a continuum of editorial that I like to talk about, is that, in the beginning, you just run a bunch of clips together. Like if you just open up your iPhone and say, play the next clip, play the next clip, play the next clip. And then you tidy them up and you trim them and you heads and tails, and you maybe make this story a little bit shorter. The third level of editorial is you might rearrange things so I can tell the story in a more compelling, easy to digest way. But they took it to a point where they were actually fabricating sentences that, again, not only did they not exist, but they were literally the exact opposite of what I was trying to say. And even though I've done this for 4 decades, it's shocking to be on the receiving end of that treatment. Shocking.
And you did a podcast with a news channel, right? That
Yeah,
and you went into a little bit there.
I went into a lot of that. Yeah, and as a matter of fact, if you look for that, it's a show called like Untold or Unscripted
That's
or
right.
whatever, and it's a investigative journalist who, because she wanted to raise her family and not travel so much, she took a local job, which happens to be in the hometown that the Bradleys live in. And I will say the Bradleys are lovely people. I have become very friendly with their family over the 27 years since this happened, and I consider them to be very good friends. I get messages from Iva Bradley and Brad Bradley, the brother, all the time, a couple today. But they're really great people, and I would love to see them get some closure on what happened to Amy. It's horrible.
Yeah. So, Mike, if you just search for Amy Bradley and Fenwick, it comes straight up. You can see that podcast, and you'll hear a bit more of the.
And I will also say, in general, when you're at the Google, if you're searching for Chris Fenwick, most of the time you're going to find really great stuff. So just go for that.
Is there another Chris Fenwick?
There is, and I'm trying to rectify that. There's a few people I need to delete from the internet.
Great content. Very good. Last question.
Tony Mobley asks, Grant, is that a real background?
Yes, you can tell it's a real background because I wouldn't have a whole bunch of junk and random things thrown back there. There's a whole bunch of cables and things, but yes, if I sit back for a second, it may.
Is that the retro studio?
Did you paint those cables in one by one?
Yeah, that's right.
Or is that some sort of random cable generator?
And look at the Apple Vision Pro box is sitting there loosely thrown behind a monitor. Yes, it is. And so I'm in a 4 meter by 3 meter room within a room that I built in the garage. And so you've got your goggles there. Has that got a focus wheel on it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, good. All right. Content recommendations. We've got to get out of here. Alex, what have you got?
I don't know if it really works or not, but I if it actually works. But I have this is like the thing that I watch when I'm like just don't want to think for a little while. I just want to watch something go by, and I don't know why I like it so much. But it's called Paul. I realize I've never said it out loud. You know, like not like because it's bad. It's just that I don't know how to say it. Polynesia bushcraft. Have you seen? So it's one of these bushcraft ones, and they're absurd, but they're really fun to watch. So anyway, this is like a guy, like he's going to climb up here and he's going to do this thing, and he makes these little like things from scratch. And I think part of it is, that looks like manure. Anyway, when I was a kid, I think part of it is that I kind of understand it a little bit. When I was a kid, going camping was I would take a knife. Sometimes I throw a couple cans just in case I couldn't find anything in the woods, and I just wander into the woods and I'd hunt and fish and I'd build a lean-to. Like it was funny. I think my kids were out, or one of my kids or my nephews or whatever were out in the woods, and they were like, I found this huge lean-to out in the woods out by your parents' house. And I was like, yeah, it's one of the lean-tos. Because I would just build a lean-to, you just build a new one, and I'd build a little thing, and then I'd do, like what I did. They weren't nearly as elaborate as the one that this guy does. He does these like crazy cut a hole in the ground and build something. I don't know why I like it so much, but that's like my thing when I just want to not think anymore. I just sit there and watch this guy build stuff, and I don't know if it's completely impractical, and I don't know what use it has. But I think that's the closest to useless of useless things to watch that I can get to.
Nice, Chris.
I may have mentioned this before, and I apologize if I have, but the YouTube channel that I've been really enjoying lately is which button is it? This button. It's this guy, Matt Piniella, Matt Bangs Wood. I think I have mentioned it before, but I've learned some more detail. Basically, he's in construction. He builds houses. This particular project that he's been working on, he bought a 100-year-old farmhouse, and he's been just redoing it bit by bit. And what's interesting about the guy, I found this because I watched so much of his stuff. He's 29 years old. He has a 13-year-old daughter. His daughter was born when he was 16, and the kid was really sick, and he and his girlfriend had to live in an RV in the hospital parking lot for a year until they could take the kid home. But he's self-made. He works like an animal. He has his own construction company, and then his YouTube thing has been really taking off. But I love the satisfaction of watching nothing turn into something. And he's taken this just beat up, rundown house and been remodeling it from the ground up almost. He did everything but tear it down. I think in the end, he'll probably admit, yeah, I probably should have just torn it down.
That all depends on the state or the city and state regulation. Like in San Francisco, they
have to leave a wall.
update something. They leave one wall up, and then usually somewhere near the end of construction, some vandal comes and knocks the wall over.
Oh, what
I don't know how that happens. And
That's
then they have to.
horrible.
We have to build the other wall.
It's so sad.
So I know that Matt lives in Central California, but this house, I believe, and I got to say, I've been kind of creeping on him, trying to figure out where it is. I believe it's in Oregon. It could be Idaho.
Have you sent a wide photo to ChatGPT and said, "Where is this?" It's scary. It is the most frightening thing. You take a photo. If someone shows a wide shot, or any kind of drone shot, and you send it to ChatGPT and say, "Where is this?" I mean, about 80% of the time, it will give you the exact coordinates. Like it is.
That's creepy. Yeah.
It's
So
crazy.
one of the, I will say
Google,
this. One of the things he does.
It's because of the Google. If it's a roadside, if the road can see it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I get it. So one of the things he does do, obviously he goes to like Home Depot half the time. And a little known fact maybe is that there are two different primary floor plans that most Home Depots are. There's like a left-hand side and a right hand where the lumber will be on the left side or right side of the building. And
Right side is obviously proper.
Right side is not as popular.
I've
Usually
never seen a Home Depot without on the right side.
And then the garden center's on the opposite end of the store.
Is it facing it? Is it facing the Home Depot?
When you stand in the front of
This
it, yeah.
week in
Looking at it or looking away?
Looking at it like a normal person would, Alex. Don't be crazy.
We should do
Home Depot.
Take your
BTS.
goggles off and join the rest of us in the real world. Yes,
Well,
of course, when you're looking at it. Anyway.
When you're not looking at it.
I've
When
never
you're
seen
facing away from
the
it.
reason I'm incredulous. I've never
I
seen a
make
Home Depot
references
where
when I'm not looking at something, Alex.
when I'm standing outside in the parking lot and I look at the Home Depot, the
Lumber's on the left.
Lumber is always on the right.
When you're driving away from it, it's on the left.
Right, exactly. When I'm in it, looking at the door, thinking of how I'm going to get out with all this stuff, then it's on the left.
Numbers usually on the left. I don't know what I said. Anyway, the other floor plan is not as popular, and I've been looking at all of the Home Depots in the state of Oregon trying to figure out what it is on Street View, and I can't figure out where he is. But I will try that creepy ChatGPT.
You get a street shot, especially, and you'll know.
Yeah,
exactly
I can find a street shot in this episode, I think.
Yeah.
Very creepy. Okay.
Okay. Guy. what have we got?
Spy GPT.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This one just came out this morning. It's Chris Williamson's podcast, and he had Matthew McConaughey on. And this one even fooled me. I wasn't paying attention. I was just watching it on my phone, so I wasn't really looking at the intricate details. So I thought they were really on this set, but it's just an LED volume. And if you look at his Facebook, he has the behind the scenes. So they went so far in the beginning of it. Matthew's saying, "Oh, and my kids and I rode our bikes over there," and he's pointing out things in there to make it super believable. And it looks spectacular. You could see they had 5 cameras on this shoot, and it's a good one to watch. I'd say that's the content pick. But just know it's an LED volume, and you can look at these behind the scenes and the lighting on that one online.
An LED volume that they brought dirt in
Yeah,
the
look at the
floor, right?
floor.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
And
legit.
that's how you sell it.
As one should.
Yeah, that's how you do it properly. Very good. I have, I think this could be, maybe it's Guy, but it was definitely someone's content recommendation at some point was Dave Plummer, as in Dave's Garage. Would it have been yours, Guy? I think it
Might
might
have
have
been
been
the
you got me onto
Microsoft
him.
worker.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So his YouTube channel is Dave's Garage, but the episode I'm gonna show you is when he was just recently on Lex Friedman's podcast, and so it's really cool because it's a couple of hours, and he just talks through his whole kind of Microsoft working for Microsoft journey, and like he created the task manager, and so like, and it talks about how his code is still being used today in the task manager. But there's a very cool segment in there as well where it just talks about his autism and talks about how that yeah, just some specifics about that I found really fascinating. And one of the aspects of that was when he was the first person I've never heard this before to talk about autism and the autism spectrum as that it can lead to disorder, or it can be a disorder in people's lives. And it was just an interesting distinction to be able to say that there are elements of autism that aren't necessarily a disorder. And I thought that was a fascinating perspective. He's a super smart guy. He's got a good voice too, and so I can sometimes fall asleep to it. So that's that. But my second recommendation related to this is I've been meaning to tell people about this for a while. I've been looking
Pulling
for
an
a
Alex.
way.
You're getting two content
am.
picks.
I'm planning to take
Well, it's
advantage
not.
of this
It's not.
and throw another one
it's
in
I
an
there.
got a
app.
second one. I got a
See,
second
see,
one.
we're already to double up. See, you open the door.
This is an app recommendation for a very specific task, and it's not actually what the app is intended for. What I was looking for is I wanted to listen to a podcast or a YouTube, podcast, because I pay for YouTube so I can listen to it in the background while I'm walking. And what I wanted though is to be able to listen to music, instrumental music at the same time on my phone. And I found this app, which is called Dual Tune, as you guys would say it, or Dual Tune, as we would say it. And it's a bare bones app, right? Like it's just, as you can see, very, very little in it. And all it is you can pick an audio file and you can play two things at once. Now, what I wasn't expecting is that however it is using the phone's API to make this happen, I just use one of those channels, one of the players, and however that fits in the hierarchy of layers of audio in the phone works. Meaning I just pick up and I get like some lo-fi music and I get a nice long track of it and I put it on the player, and once that's playing, it'll play in the background with something else that also plays in the background. So the music plays, I then have YouTube playing over the top of it, and that plays. And if I then I did this today, if I'm then using the Nike app that has announcements that would happen, they would also play. So I've then got like 3 layers of audio, multi-track audio playing into my AirPods while I'm walking. So I've now got, and so I listen to Office Hours all the time now with lo-fi,
with
cool
music playing in the
underneath.
background.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you
this
can
called?
mix it, right? Because
What's this
it's
called?
called Dual Tune.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's got a fader on it. I'm gonna send this guy a message and just say I'd love you to put numbers on the audio fader, So I know that I'm always at 15% or, whatever it is. And so I can mix in the audio, but it's a game changer for walking, because I'm just listening to really nice music with a podcast playing on top. So
It's
have a play with that.
it's funny, like I want to play with it because it sounds really cool. I don't like music and text. I don't like music and people talking at the same time. So it's a funny thing to have, that you've engineered this thing that would be for me, like literally, if you wanted to know where the Muffin Man was, you just put me in a room and have people talking over music. And I'd be like, he's on Drury Lane. He's on Drury Lane. I couldn't take it. And so,
you don't need any heavy metal music or
like
strobe lights or anything.
Like my wife will turn music on for dinner, and I'll immediately come in and go, "Hey Siri, stop." Like it just I will not. I can't have
sensory overload.
If I go into a bar and they have a band playing, I'll never come back. If they play the music too loud, I'll never come back. If they do anything that if they have a TV with sports on it, I'll never come back. As a ADD person, I can't have any of that. Like I can't be present with people around. Like if I go to, I don't like going to restaurants at all. And so if I go, it's because I want to be with somebody and talk to them. And so I only look for restaurants where I can be present to them, because I already did this thing that I don't like doing. And so I really want to, it means that person's important enough for me to do something I don't like. So I just don't want any noise, and so now if I go to a concert, then I just want music, but I don't like to have music mixed in with people talking. It's too hard for me to manage. It's interesting.
Well, I do.
I know. And I love music when I'm doing things that I hate. Like, so that's the funny thing about it is I have like mixes that I play that are mostly pretty heavy, but even nicer mixes that are just fun. But like when I swim, if I don't have music and I swim, I will swim hundreds of yards less, just because I get bored. And it's much easier for me to clean the garage. Mostly is what I'm doing right now, is cleaning the garage. It's much easier for me to do if I'm listening to music, but so anyway, it's an interesting thing.
Guy, did you have a second recommendation?
Just because you brought up Dave Plummer, man, this is a great interview with Ballmer, and he mentions Plummer in it, and just those early founding things that these little things that you didn't realize that happened at Microsoft along the way. And DEC was Digital Equipment Corporation was right down the road in those early years. And that story of Kildall, I believe, I think Fenwick was there when he got interviewed on his show. He talks about that episode where IBM comes up to Microsoft, to Bill Gates, and he's just like, "Hey, we needed this to buy this operating system from you." They call up Kildall. Is that Gary?
Gary Kildall. No, they went to Gary first, but
yeah,
IBM called Gary, and it was a Friday afternoon, and he was going out to play golf, and the admin said, "It's IBM. Do you want to talk to me?" He goes, "No, tell him to call back Monday. I'm going to go play golf." And the next call they made was Bill.
And for $50,000, they bought an OS because they didn't actually have one from this local guy here in Seattle, and gave it to IBM, and turned into one of the richest companies in the world. It's crazy.
There's a lot of stories about that.
That was a good golf game. I hope you enjoyed that golf game. It's really important. So important.
I will tell you this: Gary Kildall was a fun dude to hang out with. He was a co-host on the show that I eventually started directing, but he would come in every week and have the coolest new gadgets and toys, pre-internet type stuff. It was fun.
That was always the thing I explained to, like, the hard part of being like we had a client that, I mean, it's so hard to say no to things, because when you have a business, to put something off, especially, we had a client that was not as regular as some of the other clients. But they, we did $1 million a year with them. It wasn't like it was nothing. And so, but we had bigger clients than that at the time with Pixel Core, and we just had a confluence of jobs, and it was like $3 million of production in 1 month, and it was just this. I mean, at the moment for Pixel Core, it was like every person that I knew that was connected, that was working for me. Like, it was just like, it was, I think we probably had 150 people in different places in the world putting down all these productions. And then they called me with 3 weeks of notice in the beginning of July. asking if I could do something in 3 weeks. And I was like, I can't. Like, I couldn't. Like, and what I was afraid of was I'd send somebody that couldn't do it well. And I didn't want to ruin their show. And it's a big company, it's a big company. And I didn't want to screw it up. And they went with someone else and never came back. Like it was like, and I watched the video and it wasn't as good as what we did, but it obviously was good enough. They decided it was less expensive and it was good enough for what they needed and everything else. And that's the thing that just keeps you. I mean, when you have a company, that's the stuff that drives you into the ground, because you just don't want to say, you just eat everything that's in front of you all the time. And especially if a big client, like people say, well, when do you say, when Google was one of our largest clients, is like, when do you say no to Google? And I'm like, we don't say no to Google. Like, we figure it out. You figure it out. Even if we do it, at a loss, we do it. Like, it's, you never say, because it was, we were working with 9 divisions at Google. Like, it was like not a, and it was, and they know, no one knew that we were doing that much work, but we were just constantly, and I was like, you don't say no. That was the one company that we wouldn't say no to. And we would just and that's how I got to a point where by 2017, I was dragging a leg and slurring and just trying to get to the next show. And,
I found the address.
Yep. Did it work?
ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It took a few images and a few hints, but yeah, found it.
Told you.
Now he's going to dox them.
Super.
It's a crazy thing, isn't it? You don't need to dox anyone. All you need is ChatGPT.
Yeah. Matt Pinnell is a good dude. I leave him alone.
He's gonna put this in a secret place now.
All right, we're having fun. People watching are probably having fun, but people in the back end that are playing around with all the stuff are like,
oh my gosh,
we just finished the show already. Yeah, I thought it was going to be an hour, which is to say thank you to all in the back end making it all happen, playing around with Mimo Live and vMix on this show, and just playing with sort of cloud computing, although I think the cloud is at Guy's house.
The cloud is right behind that wall.
Yeah, that's
what that looks like. A cloud.
That's what a cloud is. It's just someone else's computer, right? So thank you to all that were making all that happen. And Taylor, Zach, Jeff, Robert, Alan, and Peter that are all doing that. And yes.
And thanks to Oliver, this show is on Mimo Live, and I think it went really well. Like, I think it's a good show.
I wish we could cut to a shot of what it looks like behind the scenes, because it's pretty dang impressive. I mean, what we did over the weekend to put this together was yeoman's effort, and all the buttons and all the code and everything. Ronnie Hofsoy, holy cow! Like, I didn't know what that guy knows. He's he sucked in some data that I was like, what? So to make all those lower thirds and the questions pump in, he figured out how to pull that off. It's pretty amazing.
Thanks to Jonas as well, because I think he made a lot. He had been figuring a lot of that stuff out.
Playing around as well.
Yeah.
And Alexander Knight.
Yeah, and I think
and Alexander Knight, and it's good.
Yeah, it's worked well, and I think someone said it looks great in 4K as well, and so it's super impressive. So thanks all to for playing around, and we sort of create this show at night to help with the time zones, but it's also just an opportunity to play around with a different way of doing the show, and so it's great to play with Mimo Live and see what it's able to do. So we'll probably have it again. I have to talk to Taylor and see if I'm not talking out of tune, but if we could have it that we pipe the interface into After Hours again, and just so people can kind of watch along and see what's going on, that would be cool too. So we'll try that sometime too. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. If you've got burning questions, remember the Daily Show on tomorrow, 7 a.m. Pacific. You can put your questions in there. You can go straight to askofficehours.global. Is that right? .com?
Yep. Nope. .global.
It's .global. And you'll be able to get the question in there. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, panel. See ya.